Deep down, Boniface had uneasy feelings about the unusual closeness and bond the twins shared, which was beyond his comprehension, but he believed them. One fateful evening, left alone at home, their suppressed emotions overwhelmed them, and they could no longer fight the burning desire they had for each other. And finally, Joe and Amanda crossed a boundary and ended up sharing a secret moment in bed no siblings should. Guilt consumed them afterwards, but so did a love they couldn't deny. As they could not put a stop to it, subsequently, Joe and Amanda continued sleeping together as often as they could, and gradually they saw no wrong in what they were doing. That became the secret they planned to go to the grave with. Their secret became a burden too heavy to bear, and soon, it manifested in haunting dreams. A martyr masquerade began chasing them in their dreams, demanding they confess their sin. Long ago, in the land of Amator, there lived a man named Boniface. His love for his people was legendary, and his heart was filled with kindness. Though he lived in the bustling city, he never forgot his roots. Every festive season, Boniface would return to Amator, bringing joy and provisions to his people. It was during one of these visits that he met Felicia, a beautiful young woman whose laughter was like a melody. They fell in love and soon married, much to the delight of the villagers. After their wedding, Boniface took Felicia to the city, where they began their new life together. Years passed, but their home remained quiet, as the cries of a child never filled its walls. Boniface patiently waited and hoped that one day his wife would conceive. On one of their trips to the village, Felicia visited the Amator shrine and pleaded with the gods to bless her womb with a child, and promised to return with a thanksgiving offering if her prayers were answered. Felicia, burdened by sorrow, later confided in Boniface. She said, "My husband, I went to the shrine of Amator today. I begged the gods of our land for a child, and I am hopeful they will answer my prayers." Boniface, who felt her pains, embraced her gently. "Felicia, your pain is my pain. In time, everything will be okay. The gods will surely bless us with our own children." And the gods did answer. Few months after that visit, Felicia conceived, and they could not hold their joy but danced in celebration. As her pregnancy progressed, friends and well-wishers who knew their predicament and how desperate they needed a child came together and celebrated with them. And months later, Felicia gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl, Joe and Amanda. Their joy knew no bounds, as the arrival of the twin babies completed Boniface and Felicia's joy as married couple. When they returned to Amator with the children, few months after they were born, the villagers erupted in celebration and joyfully welcomed them home. As they celebrated, an elder approached Felicia and whispered, "You have been blessed by the gods of Amator. Do not forget your promise." "I won't," Felicia replied. 1 week later, Boniface and his family returned back to the city and continued with their lives. Unknown to him, Felicia made a vow of thanksgiving, offering to the gods of their land that she failed to fulfill. As Joe and Ananda began to grow, Boniface and Felicia did everything possible to raise them well, teaching them the good morals and ways of Amator people. Joe and Amanda grew inseparable, their bond so strong and unshakable. Amanda had a gentle and curious nature. Joe was bold and protective and always around her. At school, Amanda was known for her brilliance and smartness. She excelled in storytelling, often captivating her classmates with folk tales. Joe, on the other hand, was athletic and strong, admired for his leadership on the school soccer team. Amanda, with her curious mind and radiant beauty, captivated all who met her. Joe's protective instincts became more pronounced, and he was quick to intervene whenever he saw anyone getting too close to Amanda. "Please, you should stop. You are scaring away my friends with this attitude of yours," Amanda complained one day after Joe had intercepted yet another admirer. Joe denied the obvious fact, but deep down, he struggled to understand his own feelings towards Amanda. He knew he loved Amanda deeply, but it wasn't the kind of love one would feel for a sister. Joe did not want any other boy close to Amanda, and on the other hand, he rejected all the girls who showed interest in him. One day, Amanda's admirer from school sent her a love letter. Joe frowned, intercepted the letter and discarded it before Amanda could even read it. Amanda was upset by his interference, and she questioned him. "Why are you always like this, Joe?" she asked, her face covered with frustration. Joe replied sharply, "I did what I did because he is not good enough for you." Do you really know how gorgeous you are? You deserve somebody better. Then who is good enough? You are always hostile to any boy that comes close to me. Why, Joe? Amanda questioned. I'm protecting you, Joe retorted. Not everyone deserves your time. Who decides that, Joe? You? Amanda's frustration was evident, but so was the affection in her voice. Despite their frequent arguments, their bond only grew stronger. It was a connection neither could explain, yet it felt as natural as the rising sun. Unknown to both of them, their feelings were rooted in a deeper truth. They navigated their school years together, with Joe always in the background, watching over Amanda like a guardian while grappling with emotions he couldn't fully understand or control. As they grew older, something about their bond began to change. The bond they shared started drifting, and it seemed more like a romantic one. Whispers began to circulate. Friends noticed how Joe and Amanda's closeness seemed to transcend that of siblings. Even Boniface, their father, grew uneasy. In fact, they had strong affection for each other and shared a special connection that others didn't quite understand. One day, a family friend remarked jokingly, "If I didn't know better, I would say you two are lovers." They both laughed it off. "What do you expect? She's my twin. Who else would I love more?" Joe responded. But beneath the laughter, Joe wrestled with feelings he couldn't understand. And Amanda, though confused, found herself drawn to her brother in ways that defied logic. Boniface and Felicia were deeply worried as they noticed this strange closeness. But each time Boniface asked them about it, Joe and Amanda would insist that everything was fine and they never saw anything wrong with their natural love for each other. "Father, we are just brother and sister," they would say. "There is nothing wrong with that." Or is it wrong to bond with each other as siblings? Joe questioned. Deep down, Boniface had uneasy feelings about the unusual closeness and bond the twins shared, which was beyond his comprehension, but he believed them. One fateful evening, left alone at home, their suppressed emotions overwhelmed them, and they could no longer fight the burning desire they had for each other. And finally, Joe and Amanda crossed a boundary and ended up sharing a secret moment in bed no siblings should. Guilt consumed them afterwards, but so did a love they couldn't deny. As they could not put a stop to it, subsequently, Joe and Amanda continued sleeping together as often as they could, and gradually they saw no wrong in what they were doing. That became the secret they planned to go to the grave with. Their secret became a burden too heavy to bear, and soon, it manifested in haunting dreams. A martyr masquerade began chasing them in their dreams, demanding they confess their sin. The nightmare continued, and they began to experience the same dreams every night. They later discussed their dreams, and fear gripped them. At that moment, they knew their love had broken a sacred rule and tradition of a martyr people. The nightmares they had were as a result of the taboo and sacrilege they had committed. Unable to bear the weight of their actions, Joe and Amanda confessed to their parents. Joe said, "Father, I have something I must tell you." "Go ahead and say it." "What is it, my son? Is everything okay?" "I hope you are not asking for money," Boniface asked. "No, father, it is just that Amanda and I," he paused. "Joe, what is it? When did you become unable to talk? Could you speak up and tell me what the matter is?" Boniface demanded. "Father, I don't really know how to say this, but Amanda and I have deeply fallen in love with each other." "My goodness. Joe, are you out of your mind? What do you mean by that? How could you fall in love with your own blood sister? Are you sick or what?" Boniface furiously asked. "My son, what did you just say?" Felicia calmly asked. "Mother, Amanda and I are in a relationship." "Abomination, the land of a martyr, the worst has happened. I am finished." Felicia shouted. "You both did what? So you have been in incestuous relationship? God forbids. What have you two done?" she cried. At that very moment Boniface too was speechless, his face covered with sadness. He was devastated. "What madness is this? How could you defy the sacred traditions of our land?" he said. Felicia lamented. "What have we done to deserve this shame?" Boniface quickly resolved to take Joe and Amanda to the village as soon as possible and report to his people and the elders of the evil they had committed in order to seek immediate solution. The next day, the entire family embarked on the journey back to a martyr village. It was a long trip, but they finally arrived in Amator village after several hours of their departure. Upon their arrival in the village, his people gathered in numbers to welcome them as they had always done in the past, whenever they visited home. But to their surprise, Boniface's mood was not welcoming. He looked sad and was not cheerful enough. Determined to seek redemption, Boniface first presented their case to his people, who advised that the village elders must be informed. They later took the case to the elders of Amator. As he stood with Felicia facing the elders, his face was filled with shame and he told them what Joe and Amanda had done. The elders were highly disappointed at Joe and Amanda for the abominable act they had engaged in, and they immediately suggested for a cleansing ritual, which was a sacred tradition in Amator. The cleansing ritual is performed for those who had broken the laws of the land. After such cleansing had effectively been done, they would openly be accepted back into the community. Otherwise, such offenders would be banished from the village if they refused to go through the cleansing process. In this case, it became compulsory that Joe and Amanda must go through the cleansing ritual. The news spread all over the entire village, and the villagers were heartbroken for such bad news. Their hearts were heavy with sadness for the shame Boniface's children had brought upon their family and Amator in general. On the day of the ritual, the villagers gathered at the village square, their faces still filled with shock. The moment Boniface and his family entered the village square, all eyes were on them. It felt as though they were being judged by the very earth beneath their feet. Boniface stepped forward with his wife Felicia, his voice strong but filled with sadness. "We come before you today, not as a proud family, but as humbled parents who have failed in their duty to guide their children. We beg for the forgiveness of the gods of our ancestors and the people of Amator for this act of shame." He added, "We have brought our children to you, so they may be cleansed of this great sin and learn to honor the ways of our ancestors. We ask for your wisdom, for the healing of their hearts, and for the restoration of peace in our land." The chief priest, the mouthpiece of the gods, listened intently before speaking. "What has been done is an abomination. It had broken the sacred bond of family, and this is something that cannot be undone easily. But the gods are just. Felicia, you failed to fulfill your promise to the gods of Amator. You brought this upon yourself. You refused to honor your promise when you fell pregnant and even after giving birth to your babies. Remember, you asked for a child, but the gods gave you a set of twins. But there is a way to restore balance. The cleansing ritual must be performed. It is not only for your family, but for all of Amator, so that the wrath of the gods will not befall us for the evil your children committed. The gods of Amator are restless at this moment and the ancestors are watching." He looked toward Joe and Amanda. "You both have dishonored your family, your people, and the very land that engineered your conception." As he stood with his sacred staff in his hand, he called upon the ancestors and the gods of the land. Joe and Amanda, standing side by side, were dressed in white cloths that symbolized their purity before the gods. They looked around, feeling both small and exposed under the weight of their mistake. They were surrounded by their community, and they knew that the eyes of everyone in Amator were upon them. As preparations began, the chief priest received a vision. His face darkened as he turned to Boniface and Felicia. "There is more to this story than you know." The village square was silent as the chief priest addressed the crowd. "These two did not commit any sacrilege. Joe and Amanda are not siblings. The gods have spoken." Before any of them could ask any question, the chief priest further revealed that Joe and Amanda were not blood-related siblings. He added that there was something deeper concerning the twins hidden all these years. He said, "The gods have shown me more than you know. There is more to the story of these two than just their bloodline." His revelation caused disbelief and confusion among the villagers and the elders. On the day Felicia gave birth, a terrible act of fate occurred. A desperate woman, seeking a male heir, without one, her marriage was at risk. She was so eager to save her marriage, and in her desperation, she made a deal with a corrupt midwife, who switched her daughter with one of Felicia's twins. The midwife was paid a great sum to swap one of the twins with Amanda. And Joe's twin brother was taken from his rightful family and placed with this woman while he was replaced with Amanda. She took the boy home as her own baby, a male heir to save her marriage, while unsuspecting Felicia went home with Joe and Amanda as her set of twin babies. The gods have shown me that the woman's actions were driven by fear. "So Amanda is not my daughter?" Felicia asked. "She is, but not by blood," the priest clarified. "Joe's twin brother was taken, and Amanda was placed in his stead. The gods allowed this truth to remain hidden until now. The gods of Amator land engineered the love affair between Joe and Amanda in order to bring the truth out in a day like this. The gods are wise," he added. Joe and Amanda stood in stunned silence. The love they had feared was forbidden was now validated by the gods themselves. Their bond, forged by fate, was not a sin but a divine orchestration. The gods have blessed your family with the truth. How you walk forward from this point is your choice. Joe and Amanda's bond, though unexpected, is powerful. It is the kind of bond that transcends bloodlines and circumstances. At that point, Joe and Amanda felt a profound sense of relief and peace, knowing that their love was not a taboo after all but a bond born of destiny. The priest concluded, "The gods have brought you together to reveal the truth and restore balance. And to you, Felicia, you must now fulfill your vow to the gods, for it was your negligence that delayed this revelation. The cleansing ritual you sought was never about purging your children, but about understanding their true bond. The gods have revealed the truth, and you must now decide what to do with it." The cleansing ritual was performed not for Joe and Amanda's actions, but for the deceit that had hidden the truth for so long. The villagers, though shocked, rejoiced in the wisdom of the gods. Felicia later offered her thanksgiving at the shrine as was instructed by the chief priest. Joe and Amanda, free from guilt, later sat with Boniface happily chatting and deliberating on what their next action would be. They finally began their lives anew, not as siblings, but as two souls destined to find each other through a mysterious means. And Boniface, though burdened by the years of hidden truths, found solace in the resilience of his family and finally hugged Felicia with joy, knowing that what they feared most did not happen. The story of Joe and Amanda became a legend in Amator, a tale of love, fate, and the justice of the gods. It also emphasizes that no matter how deeply a secret is buried, the truth has a way of coming to light. This reminds us to act with integrity and honesty in all circumstances. Thank you for watching. If you find the story interesting, please kindly subscribe, like, comment, share, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell for more intriguing stories from this channel. Remain blessed.